So yeah, something strange is happening with Diablo 4 with the day 1 patch. I'll explain in just a moment. Plus, it's time to pre-download the game right now and update your drivers. And we have a huge optimization fix for PC players as well. You don't want to start Diablo 4 without first doing this. Plus, we have a new Q&A with new insights beyond what we've heard before. Looks like there's some conflicting opinions about Diablo 4. Also, clearing up some confusion around the Fields of Hatred PvP zones. Yes, you can actually PvE only in these zones to a degree. I'll explain that as well. But yeah, check this out right here. Diablo 4 has really tapped into customization and really bringing your personality forth. But yeah, I spent a lot of time browsing the internet for news for you guys, and I want something that's more customized, so check this out here. So yeah, I've been trying out these amazing new mods in my favorite new browser called Opera GX. Now, mods are a perfect way to customize your Opera GX browser. These flashy new mods change the keyboard sounds, background music, opening and closing tab sounds, background wallpaper theme, and colors of the browser, and more. You can even disable and enable specific features of each mod if you want to. My favorite mods were definitely the medieval and cyberdeck mods. There was even this cool old camera shader effect mod that I applied over the whole browser, and there are so many more free mods in the mod store, including both official mods and community-made mods as well. So upgrade to the best browser for gamers right now. Join me and download Opera GX for free on PC and mobile by following the link in that description below. Check it out. If you are switching from a previous browser, don't panic. Opera GX has an import tool that allows you to quickly import all of your settings from the previous browser to GX, like browsing history, bookmarks, and cookies. And not only does Opera GX have its own extension library, but it's also compatible with every Google Chrome extension, which is super useful. And the direct, seamless integration of apps like Twitch, Discord, Facebook Messenger, and more make my life so much easier. I can easily check my messages from each one of these apps by simply using the sidebar, and I'll even be notified when my favorite streamers on Twitch go live. Also, I love the GX Corner because it helps me find the latest free games and best deals as well, and it keeps me up to date on all the latest game releases and gaming news. And the GX mods will also change the background of the GX Corner as well to match, which is really, really cool. So join me right now and download Opera GX for free on PC and mobile by following that link in the description below. Check it out. Let's dive straight into this first and foremost with the official stuff, starting out with this one right here. Yes, Preload is now available. Go get it as confirmed by Rod Ferguson. Let me know what platform you guys are playing on. I'm actually kind of curious, but I love how this game does have crossplay. Now, also, it is nearly time for early access. From this tweet, it said 41 hours away. We're getting very, very close at this point. I'm so hyped. So remember, early access begins June 1st, 4 p.m. PT time. And yeah, I'll throw in the description the world times as well, because it is going to be a world launch. Also, we have this. Hey, Bacon Faded, it's me on Slack again. Are we still teasing that Diablo 4 thing tomorrow night? People are going to be really surprised, so I don't want to ruin it by talking about it too soon. Just checking. Yeah, that could be anything. I'm definitely not going to overhype it, but who is Bacon Faded? Who is Rod Ferguson tweeting at? That is the director of global marketing at Diablo, of course. So yeah, we should be getting something pretty cool, I hope. We'll only have to wait and see what happens there. Now, also, this is pretty important. Check it out. Diablo 4 GeForce Game Ready driver has been released. Make sure you download it before you actually hop into Diablo 4 on PC, of course. Yeah, NVIDIA also did highlight some brand new gameplay on their 40 series running on DLSS 3 with RTX on, and it looks absolutely beautiful. I wish I had a 40 series. Look at the frames per second they're able to reach on high settings. I think this is like maxed out ultra settings on RTX DLSS 3. Absolutely impressive. Incredible. But yeah, mentioning PC stuff, we got to talk about how you can actually further optimize your experience on PC when it comes to Diablo 4. Specifically, this is really important. Check it out right here. It goes on to say the following: a very simple and potentially huge PC optimization fix. I spent countless hours optimizing my game and system to have everything ready for release day maybe I can save someone the same headache. During the server slam, my GPU was running at a constant temp of 85 Celsius plus. High heat plus loud fans is not ideal for a game which will likely be played for hours at a time. Now, the culprit was apparently NVIDIA Reflex in-game setting. This is one of those settings most people suggest has zero downsides. Basically, it runs the GPU at a constant higher performance to reduce latency. Sounds great. Turning this setting off in my situation reduced my average gaming temp from 85 Celsius to 64 Celsius, which is rather absurd. My latency changed from 1 millisecond to 2 milliseconds at most. In both cases, the game was running stable 120 frames per second refresh rate of my 4K display with all settings maxed out at 4K resolution. Maybe 1 millisecond is worth 21 Celsius higher temps in competitive FPS games, but for Diablo, this was totally unnecessary. This may only apply to those with a higher end GPU, but I do hope it helps someone. For me, this was absolutely a huge fix. So hopefully this helps some of you out there that are perhaps maybe running on the 40 series as well, or even the 3080. I think that this could actually be super useful for you guys. Now, we got to talk about that day one patch because there's been some strange happenings around that one out on Twitter. Let's dig in here and see what is going on exactly. So, first and foremost, goes on to ask this, not asking for specifics, but assuming there is a day one patch, can you all comment on if it will contain balance changes? If we scroll down here, we have Joseph Rapora of course, Blizzard, who says it will represent the 1.0 build of Diablo 4 up from 0.9 that we had in place for the server slam. You will see balance changes and bug fixes, but hold up, wait a second. We got to keep going because he follows up saying this right here. I spoke an error here and need to correct the record. The server slam build was not 0.9, but actually a version of our day one build. There will be very few changes between this build and the one players will be playing at launch. Deeply sorry for the confusion. So yeah, no big deal, but what version were the reviewers playing on? That's the big question. So that was asked by Charles, and we have this one from Joseph Rapora, who says they played the version you'll be playing. So this is amazing to me that they were able to pull that off and ensure that the reviewers were actually talking about a version of the game that we will be experiencing, which I think is great for continuity and consistency. Now, also, we have a follow-up to this day one patch because Adam Fletcher does confirm that there are going to be, yes, some performance optimizations and bug fixes in the day one update. So there is that at least. Don't expect significant balance changes. I think they want to see how you all react still to more of like the in-game beyond, of course, level 25, and then once you hit level 50 and how things are feeling there. And then I think they'll be like, okay, we need to perhaps maybe adjust things. So I'm going to read the next responses from the dev team out here on Twitter. Stay with me because you might be like, oh, this is redundant. I've already heard this before. But at the tail end of this, we finally get actual clarity as to what is going on with seasonal versus eternal realm characters. This is pretty important going into Diablo 4, especially once Season 1 is introduced. So check it out. It says this: in Diablo 4, will non-seasonal characters be getting new content, or is it just new seasons we will have to play to experience this new stuff, like gear, battle passes, in-game events, etc.? And the response was this: yes, things like new legendary powers and uniques from seasons will transition to the eternal realm after seasons end. However, we have a reply here that says, but then here we see that seasonal from Joseph Rapora. He did respond to it saying only the special stuff only found in seasonal mechanic content. Now, furthermore, they say, so will we have new legendaries, uniques, but only some of those will not carry over if they interact with new mechanics, but other new powers will carry over and add to the possible eternal realms? And finally, we have further clarification from Joseph Rapora, who says balance changes, new legendary powers, and new unique items will be added to the eternal realm and seasonal realms at the same time. Seasonal mechanic powers, items, etc. will be retired at the end of the seasons. So finally, we get a firm answer on that one. All right, so what's going on here? It says, AMA, I was part of the press early access review. No spoilers. So guess what? Everyone asked a bunch of questions, and we got some interesting insights into Diablo 4. So check it out. It goes on to say this right here. Does leveling slow down significantly? I was able to hit 20 through 25 in an evening without even really rushing through stuff. The response from Digital Farce was 100%. The first few levels go fast. By 40s, it slows way down. I think that is a good thing. I don't want to be 100 in a few days. So if we were expecting to max out very quickly, does not seem to be the case whatsoever. I'm sure there are certain techniques where you can actually level up faster, but this is great to hear. Now, next up, we have this. How is Druid gameplay? Going to roll Druid. I'm hoping its early gameplay is stronger in the release than it was in the beta. And the reply is this, not gonna lie, Druid is still brutal, especially on World Tier 2 in the early levels. When I started finding legendaries and unlocking class goodies around level 25 is when it really started to be a blast. I did full companion pulverize Druid. So, for me personally, it's not a big deal as long as it starts feeling really good by that level 25. I think that is good news. All right, so what about Cellar? So check it out right here. It says this. Here's a tough one for you. Rate your Cellar experience on a scale of 1 through 10, and the response is this, 8 out of 10. Way better than the betas. Still, I wish they were bigger and had more secrets, like more random loot goblins. So apparently there's been some improvements here with the Cellars maybe, or they just look better because remember, we only got to experience the Cellars from Fractured Peaks and not the other biomes. So I think there's going to be more variety with the Cellars as we explore the open world. All right, so what do we have next? Check it out. Goes on to say this right here. What is respecting talent point cost like in the late game? Early interviews about the game made it sound like refunding talents could get very expensive. Did you ever get to a point where you felt like refunding talent points became too expensive or needed to grind gold for it, or was it not that bad? The response here is interesting. It says, you get so much blasted gold, costs are insignificant. And what I'm hearing is that it's kind of deceptive at first, this game. You get some gold at first, and then all of a sudden it's crazy. You can get millions and millions of gold very, very quickly. It's something you really do not have to worry about. And I think that's great because if you're picking up a unique and you need to kind of respec your character around that weapon, which is what some people are going to be doing, then you should be able to do that. All right, what do we have next? It says, are there any quest-altering decisions, choices you make through NPC dialogue? If any. I don't expect big changes like Mass Effect, just some moral-based choices. And the response says, not many choices that affect NPC dialogue, just a lot of changes through strongholds and new dungeons do open up. So don't expect this to be like a choice and consequence type story arc, of course. Now, I think that would be cool. Again, I have said previously, I would love to see your class responding to class-specific moments within the story. We've seen some oddities with that, especially with the Necromancer. So yeah, I'm hoping that they actually, do something with this when it comes to maybe the expansions. Let me know if you guys want more choice and consequence and rewards like that with story. All right, what do we have next? Let's take a look. It says, a lot of the reviews say that the story fell short. What were your thoughts? The response is, it's all subjective. I loved it, especially compared to the horrible Diablo 3 story. So this kind of conflicts with what was said in the IGN reviews and several reviews that the story is just meh. So again, yeah, it's going to be very much subjective. I'm kind of curious to see how much fetch questing story arcs are in this story. That's my biggest concern from reading the reviews. I'm just going to judge it myself and see what happens. All right, so we got to talk about the Field of Hatred. So check this out right here. This is really important to know. It says this, Fields of Hatred are areas made for PvE and PvP. Enemies drop Seeds of Hatred, a currency used to buy unique cosmetics and items. It's similar to the Dark Zone, of course, that's from the Division. You can play PvE only, but must extract the seeds to keep them. You also can activate PvP if you want to. So yeah, you actually have to mark yourself, do a blood mark on yourself if you are going to want to be able to open up certain chests within PvP. Once you do that, of course, you're going to open yourself up to engage in PvP. And one of the points of going into the Field of Hatred is very much going after the chest, the rare, unique items related to the Field of Hatred to PvP. That being said, you can go through the Field of Hatreds and not mark yourself and get through it without engaging with anyone. So that is very important to know. A lot of people are really worried, well, what happened if there is an Altar of Lilith in the PvP zone? I really need it right now. I don't want to engage in PvP. Well, you can actually do that. Remember, these zones go on and off every hour as well. They're on 1 hour and then they're off to really allow you to repair. So that's also something to consider as well. Now, someone also mentioned this. People are begging for this, and I totally agree. Check it out. Blizzard, please, again, let us turn off this arcade combat text. Look at how cluttered that is. That just looks like an absolute mess. We really don't need that much clutter. I think that once you're in the end game, especially, and you know your build, you know what it's going to do to the mobs, to all the enemies, and to have it so cluttered with that text really ruins the art style. So yeah, hopefully they can tap into providing us with an option to shut that all off. All right, so now it's time to get into your top comments. Remember, leave a comment down below. It could end up in a future video. Let's see what you guys had to say. So check this out right here. My most recent video was, of course, about the recent review. Some interesting stuff there. Also, yes, about those microtransactions being quite pricey. I thought they were ridiculous, by the way. I don't care what anyone says. For a $70 game, putting a $25 skin? Come on now. Anyway, let's see what you guys had to say about it. So we have Alpha Star, who says, appreciate the updates. You're my go-to channel for Diablo 4 news. I have you guys covered. Thank you so much. Steve says, dude, you are doing amazing work spitting out the daily Diablo 4 news. I'm trying my best to keep it flowing and interesting. Now, Mike G says, it's Diablo. I'm here for that gameplay and replayability, and it sounds like they knocked it out of the park. And I'm thinking he's kind of referring to how IGN was kind of more picky about the story, and they kind of found it to be meh. You know, so a lot of you guys are here apparently more for the gameplay. And, you know, for me, it's also the tone of the story, the world. I like how dark it feels, you know, so that's something that I'm really into. And I feel like they really nailed that down with Diablo 4. Now, the characters also really fascinate me and interest me. I've always said this. You can have great characters with a kind of average story, and those characters elevate the story for some reason. If you have bad characters with a somewhat interesting story, then I don't even care. Like, I don't care about the story. I've seen really cool plot lines that are complex and neat, but the characters are just awful, and I give up. I don't care. So characters for me are first and foremost when it comes to anything story. All right, next up we have this one, Arthas, who says, I noticed the rubber banding in the first set of beta weekends. It was pretty annoying. The skin prices are egregious. I agree. The skin prices are out of this world. Now, the reviews did mention the rubber banding is there somewhat, that they did have instances where they couldn't get into entire zones, that they had to like do some weird sort of fast travel thing to get in. That sucks to hear. They really need to, of course, fix that. Again, that wouldn't exist if there was an offline option, but I think a lot of us are going to enjoy playing this one online. The more and more I played it, I think I'm going to be playing co-op a lot. But anyway, there it is, the latest happenings around Diablo 4. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned here for more news and updates about this one, and of course, more open world gaming news. Cannot wait for Season 1 news about this as well. Remember, they did say that that's going to be mid-July to late July when Season 1 would begin. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Take care.